Hey everyone, welcome to another live show. We're already Tuesday. Time just flies and flies. It's just incredible. It seems I don't have time to see anything. So we are Tuesday, and we're Tuesday, June the 14th. And this is live show number 37. And of course, this is a live show where we answer your questions and to the best of our knowledge. And of course, we've got some cool people helping out, suggesting stuff when needed. So it's cool to have everybody there. So basically, this is a show every Tuesdays. We're live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Gilles, and I am a tech guy, and also of course YouTuber. And we have this show every Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1900 hours Universal Time, and we answer your questions about anything technology, not just Windows, Android, iOS, Mac, Internet of Things, anything you might have technological, your router's problematic signal, anything. All you have to do is send your question to helpwithyourcomputers@gmail.com. That's where I check out for the questions. So today in our live show, we already have a lot of questions that were sent by a lot of you out there. And of course, we have other questions that arrive through the show very often. If I don't have to answer today, I don't have time to answer today, of course, I'll answer it next week. One very important information. Once again, I'm sorry, but tonight there's no Learn the Tech. I did not have enough time to complete the Learn the Tech about peripherals, all sorts of peripherals that from the past to today, things that connect to computers, getting a little tour of that. So I have part of it done, but it's not all of it done. So next week, we'll be back with Learn the Tech. I promise. My tech guy duties have been quite important lately. You like our shows? You want to help us? PayPal donation. This is the email you use with PayPal to send a donation. It helps me continue what I do. While I'm doing a live show like this, got to remember that I'm not doing a job as a tech guy. So, like everybody, need to pay the rent, the internet, and everything. Of course, helps me buy new equipment and keeps the show on the air. If I've helped you in any way, why not consider a PayPal donation if you can? Even a very small amount will help, and basically keeps us on the air. Thanks to everyone that has donated. It's very appreciated. Thank you very much. So we're going to start with questions. Of course, the first questions. So in the first questions, first of all, we have Matthew. Matthew that says that he loves the show, been following my live show, and been really enjoying that and learning a lot. So he says that he's got 3 PCs, 2 work really well. The third one gives him random blue screens of that every time I have a different error in it. How can I fix this? And how can I know what is wrong? That is a very complex one. When the blue screens are random, meaning that every time your computer crashes, it doesn't have the same error code, it doesn't have the same error message, that is a complex issue. It means that it never crashes at the same place. One of the things you should check, if possible, if you've got 2 of your PCs that have the same RAM memory, why not swap the RAM and check out if it fixes things? I'd say that out of maybe all the possibilities of random blue screens, I'd say that probably a good 30 to 40% are probably because of bad RAM modules. And that will give you random errors because the bad RAM will often write different things in the RAM where it's defective. So every time you turn on the computer, it's not always the same information that's there. So if it crashes because of that, it is always kind of random because it's never the same thing that crashes when it does that. So I check out RAM. If it's a desktop, I check out the power supply. Power supply is that big box that's inside the casing of your desktop. It might have incorrect voltages. That is also a cause of blue screens and random blue screens. Make sure also that your computer isn't overheating. Sorry, one of the worst problems sometimes is overheating. If your computer really becomes hot, it will often give you random blue screens. So that's something to check for. And you know what? If all fails, you say that you've reinstalled Windows and it still gives you error. It even give you an error while you're installing. It could be a faulty hardware. So it could be something that's not going right on the motherboard, for example. It's especially when you get it while you're installing. Very often, it still doesn't have any drivers and anything installed. That's kind of an indication that something is wrong in the hardware itself. One thing that I would also try here, go to a website like the Ubuntu website, or you know, let's check it out here. Any website that let's check here for Ubuntu or Linux Mint or one of these versions of Windows. If you go to ubuntu.com, make yourself a Linux distribution bootable DVD or thumb drive. And what's cool about that is that you don't have to actually install it for it to work. You can just boot from it and have a working Linux. Is that also crashing? If that crashes, that pinpoints very often to hardware problems. So check it out and hope that you can find it. If you don't see anything wrong, bring it to a tech guy. But these are very, very difficult errors to fix, I can tell you that. Mickey says, could you help me with a blue screen saying DPC Watchdog violation in Windows 10? I've reinstalled Windows, but it still comes up and crashes my PC. Mickey, DPC Watchdog violations have numerous causes. It can happen with different problems. It can happen with different drivers. I would start with this type of error by checking out the drivers that you've installed for the hardware and the device manager. So make sure that they are the latest. So if you have a brand computer, go to the manufacturer's website. So if you got it, for example, an HP laptop, go to hp.com. Check out the latest drivers that they have for all the hardware on your computer. It is often caused by a fault in a driver. So by upgrading your drivers, you might actually fix this error. DPC Watchdog violations are problems that occurred mostly in Windows 8 and 10 and are often, very often, I'd say probably 80% of the time, faulty drivers that you just upgrade and suddenly the error message will stop. So it has so many different causes actually that it's very difficult to pinpoint what it could be, especially, you know, I'm not in front of your computer, so it's very difficult for me to help you with that. But check out, upgrade your drivers, make sure you got the latest drivers for your hardware, and that might fix, you know, it might come from I've seen DPC Watchdog violations with drivers for graphics cards or graphics adapters. I've seen this error come with a faulty Realtek audio driver. I've seen this also on if you have bad drivers for your if your computer has a solid state drive, SSD drive, make sure that you got the latest drivers from the manufacturer, because there are drivers for these, and it could be faulty drivers. It could be faulty SSD drives. So a lot of stuff. And I can't really help you pinpoint much. There's not a lot of information here, what you say, and it's a little complex. And one of the questions I get very often is what to try and notice when you get a blue screen of death. When you get the blue screen, the error message that you get in there is often useful to know what the error could be, where the error could stand. So very often you'll have a message like error whatever and this or that. Sometimes it will give you a DLL or a file or a name of something that will ring a bell of what it could be. When the error message is always the same, you're in luck in a sense, because it means that it's always the same thing that crashes. You can Google it. I often do that. So for example, just give you a little example here. I'll go into the Google search engine, and I'll simply in Google type BSOD, or blue screen of death, 0x00046, whatever. I'm making one up here, and you'll start seeing blue screens of death with that error message. Give as much detail as possible. So if it's I don't know, if it says real tech, well, why not check it out, real tech, with the blue screen error and so on. So here, for example, solve blue screen of death while installing Realtek audio and so on. So give as much information as possible in Google. It is often a very, very, very useful tool in helping learning blue screens and what's happening. Of course, having a little bit of knowledge, sometimes it will have words or keywords that will help you pinpoint a specific item. So for example, I chose Realtek. Well, if you would have such a name in the error, then you might, or if you have a DLL or a file name, check out what does that file do in Windows. Once again, use Google. And one thing you might see is, oh, it's related to this hardware. So you might pinpoint, okay, either that is bad hardware, say a Realtek Wi-Fi adapter. It could be the driver that's bad. So maybe the hardware is fine, but the driver is bad. Try to find a different driver or a new driver. Sometimes, you know what, I've fixed problems sometimes by actually rolling to an older driver. You have something going wrong in the blue screen, and you've installed the latest driver, and then you roll back to a driver that's 6 months older or a year older, and suddenly the problems stop. That is something that happens. Sometimes newer drivers are not always the best drivers. We try to, so I will always say try to get the latest drivers of everything, but at the same time, if everything works, why screw up everything? Just keep it like it is. But what happened also, one of the things about blue screens, did you change anything? Did something new install on your computer? Was there any Windows updates when it started? These are all things that can pinpoint to what's happening. Did you install a new piece of software? Can you pinpoint, oh, every time I do this, I get a blue screen? Some are very specific. I remember a client of mine, every time she would go on Facebook and play a specific game on Facebook, she would get a blue screen, and always with Google Chrome. So now you get kind of a way of identifying something. Okay, using Google Chrome, always playing the same game, and I get a blue screen. Or every time I don't know, I open up Microsoft Word, while I'm working with Word, I get a blue screen. Oh, have you noticed if it doesn't do it at all when you're not in Word? So that pinpoints to, oh, this could be a glitch, for example, in Word itself. So these are all possible things that can happen here with the blue screens. Try to really use the maximum amount of information possible. And by the way, when you call a tech guy with a blue screen problem, give as much information as possible, especially if you're calling the tech guy and while the tech guy spends an hour or two at your place, it doesn't happen. That is something very frequent. I go to a client and the client would say, oh, I get blue screens. Okay. And I'm going to be there 2 hours and it doesn't blue screen. And even sometimes, they're really surprised because it's like, man, it always blue screens. I don't understand why it didn't do it while you're there, So basically, if you got a smartphone, take screenshots of the blue screen error messages and try to pinpoint what was I doing before it blue screened. And sometimes you find a pattern. Oh, every time I do this, I get a blue screen. And that is something to check for because, yeah, there are random blue screens that you have just no idea why it's doing it, and it's very complicated to find. But you get probably 80% or 90% of the blue screens. There's a pattern that you can see. There's something that you can pinpoint. Oh, I've upgraded my player, my multimedia player of some sort. And when I play videos, I get a blue screen. It pinpoints to stuff sometimes, I'm playing a game when it blue screens. Well, could be a glitch in the game. Could be, oh, your computer's overeating when you're actually playing a game because it's working too hard. It comes too hot, blue screen. I've seen blue screens on laptops with AMD processors or CPUs that were overeating when they were above a certain level of temperature. They just blue screen. So lots of things that can cause this, and it's one of the it's sometimes extremely painful and difficult to try to find what happened. But good luck on trying to find these things. A few Android questions. One from Douglas Elliott that he's using Android. And he says, for example, he's got Android 5.1, getting insufficient memory to install this app. I have an almost empty 64 gigabyte SD card. Can I move some of the existing apps to the SD card to make space for a new app? Or is it possible to make the SD card the default place for new apps? So here's the thing with Android devices. Let me just get my Android phone, which is here. Yes, you can move apps to SD card, but not all the apps. So that's the thing you need to know. You need to check out the different apps that you've installed. So for example, you download an app, go into your settings. So you can swipe down from the top of the screen, go into the little settings wheel. And here you'll want to go to applications. And there you'll have applications manager that you can check. So here it's going to show you, and I'm going to try to see if I can actually pinpoint something to have you. I don't know if we can see anything when I do this. Yeah, it seems to work. So when you have your app list like this, you can actually click on an app. So I'm going to choose one here. Okay, I've got one here. Can I use this one? Let's see. Okay, let's check it out. This one doesn't give me any information for that. Let me check. I'm going to try to find one. Basically, what you want is you click on an app, first of all, in the list. And on that app, you will have information like, will look like this. Uninstall. You'll have something to uninstall if you can. So it wants to uninstall the apps. I don't know if you guys can see anything, but in there, when you have the app listed here, there's something called storage. So what you'll do is click on storage. And here very often you'll have a button that helps you move the app. So let me just, I want to have one because I don't see anyone right now. It mostly works with apps that you've downloaded. So let me just check here because I don't see any of my apps right now that has this. Yeah, here we go. I've got one here called Shortwave Schedules for my shortwave schedule stuff. So when I clicked on the app itself, I had uninstall and force stop. But if you click storage, I've got a button here and it says the storage used, internal storage. In here, I got a button called change. So when I changed, it offers me, oh, internal storage or SD card. So that's where I put SD card. And I simply click move and I see it now working. It's actually transferring that app to the SD card in my phone. So go through every app and you'll see that there are apps that you can move. There are apps that you cannot move. Not every app works. So for example, now I've changed it. Instead of saying internal storage, it now tells me external storage for that app. So go through every app in your phone and transfer that to your SD card. Another thing that you can try to check is your camera settings. So go into your settings once again, go into applications and select your camera. And here you will have, I believe, let me just check here. I'm just going to try to, is it here or it's somewhere else? Let's go. I'm just going to, because that's also something that you need to check for. With your camera app, let me just check here. Storage, okay. There's a place where you can actually give it. Won't be very long. I'm just going to, unless it's when you launch the camera, I'm just going to launch the camera. And here I can check out the different options of the camera. What else do I have? Okay, we got mode, more. Yeah, I'm trying to find them. I don't remember where it is, but there's a place where you can actually state, when I use my camera on my Android device, save all of these files. So let me just go here and I'll go to storage maybe. Here I've got storage, I've got card, internal storage. I just don't remember where it is, but there is an option in that basically will, in advanced, let me just check advanced, one-handed operation, smart capture. I'm sorry, I don't remember where it is exactly, but there's a place where it will really give you the information and say, okay, when I use my camera, store all of that in my SD card. So make sure your pictures, your videos that you take go to the SD card, not the main internal memory, because that will fill up real fast. So there's a few things you can check for. You can also, in the settings, go into, if I go into storage, internal storage, go into, because that's also an indication, go into your settings once again. At the bottom of the settings, you'll see something called storage. Click on internal storage. You'll see used space and it's going to say calculating. So here, it's going to tell you how much space used, and if you click on it, it's going to tell you the apps, how much space they use. For example, my apps use 5 gigabytes, pictures, 93 megabytes, and audio, 18 megabytes, and that's for the internal And if you click on apps, it's going to tell you all the apps and how much each app take space on your storage on your device. So these are all things that you need to go into the settings. And once again, to go to the settings, you just swipe up from the top of your phone down. You'll see settings. You'll see a little settings wheel, and that works for 4.4 KitKat, 5.1 Lollipop that you have. This is 6.0.1 Marshmallow, and move the apps. Make sure that you uninstall anything that you don't use at all. I regularly go into the apps and choose the apps that I don't want to use anymore, and simply remove them from by clicking the uninstall button. I'll regularly go through. You know, sometimes you install a game, you play the game for like 2 months, and then you get bored and you just don't play anymore. Why not uninstall the game? So you can install apps on SD card by going into the applications and checking each app. Remember, not all apps can be moved. No space on main phone memory. That's one of the reasons one of the things that you can actually move apps away. Also remember, there's all sorts of things that take memory. So like settings, some apps have lots of settings and stuff that basically can take away some of your RAM. A slow Android phone, make sure that you click the two little, at the bottom of the window, you often have little icons. And there's one with kind of, it's like two squares basically. When you click on that, it tells you all the apps that are open. Make sure you close all the apps that are open. You can also swipe the apps off the screen to close them. Make sure that if it's slow or if it has error messages or is bizarre in its work, hold down the volume down and the power button on the right side, and you'll have a restart or a power off possibility. So click the restart button and make sure that your phone restarts. It might just need to restart and kind of clear its RAM to become kind of like normal again. It happens. These things are computers, so make sure they can go wrong. They can be buggy. By restarting, it will work. If it doesn't go away, if you get error messages or really some erratic working, download the apps from the manufacturer for your computer. Plug your phone into a Windows machine or your Mac or whatever. And most apps that are available for these have an option called reset, or just reinitialize the phone to its zero state, like when you bought it. That will fix most of these problems that can happen with these phones. These are complex devices. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. So lots of little things that you can do here to make or try to make things a little better, a little faster. So there's like Douglas says, there's a lot of users of Android phones that are Windows users. So basically, it's kind of normal that we have all of that. Want to talk about all of those little things here. So check it out. Try to move your apps, and hopefully things are going to get better, and you'll have space for new apps. And hope it helped you, Douglas. And thanks for your question. What do we have here? We have questions about Microsoft Office. That's coming from Anna. She says she's a new viewer to my live shows, and that she's really finding that they are extremely interesting, and she's learned a lot from them. She says that she watches the show when it's recorded because she is working while the show is live. Question she has is about Microsoft Office, because Anna says that she actually often works at home on documents from her work. And what she wants to know is, first of all, using Office 2013. Is there a big difference with Office 2016? Should I upgrade or not? You know what? That question is answered pretty much totally by what you do. If your 2013 edition opens everything that you actually work on, don't get the 2016. You'll be spending money for nothing. You know, your 2013 opens all the documents from work. Nobody complains about anything. Continue using 2013. You don't need to upgrade 2016. There aren't that many big differences between both. Most of the differences are in areas where a lot of people don't really use it. There's more cloud stuff also in 2016. This one does not fit here. I don't know why it's there. This is from a question from last week, so let's pretend this one's not here. The other question she has, she says, if I upgrade to 2016, the other question I have is, should I upgrade to Office 2016, which is $149, or I know that there's Office 365, which is a subscription. How would I know if I need to buy the standalone or get Office 365? Thank you for your answers. Well, that depends on your usage. If you have only one computer at home and will use Office only on one machine, I would get the standalone because, yeah, it's a little more expensive, but it's a one-time buy, and you got it for however long you want to use it. So it can, you know, you'll be using 2016 and for 5 years or 6 years in a row. So it's a better buy if you have only one computer. And if you have more than one computer, what's interesting of the 365 is it offers you up to 5 machines. So you can get the home. If you're only working with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you can get the Office 365 home, which I believe is like $69 a year. And that gives you 5 computers on which you can, or tablets or devices that you can install Office 2016. And what's cool also is that you always have the latest version. So when I subscribed to Office 365, we were in Office 2013. They published Office 2016. Well, I got all of that upgrade for free, or technically, because I'm subscribed, so it's part of the deal. It's a one-time, you know, every year you'll be charged, and you know what? You don't want it anymore. You don't need it anymore. You just cancel a subscription. And it's cool because it's not expensive if you have many machines. Like I have Office on 3 PCs and 1 Mac. So that's 4 devices. For me, it's better to get the 365 subscription. Plus, I get the added bonus. I got 1 terabyte of OneDrive, which is cool because of all the space that I have to store my documents and stuff. So, you know, it depends on your setup, on how, what you're working with. That's only one, like I say, in general, only one computer, buy the standalone. If you have more than one computer, it might be interesting to have the Office 365 subscription instead. That's for sure. We have antivirus questions, and those are coming from Jacob. Jacob says hi, and Jacob is in California. Says that he has questions for antivirus. He works with his computer. He's self-employed. Question number 1, what is the best antivirus? That's not a question that I really think is useful to answer, because the best antivirus is you. It's what you do with your computer. You know, everybody is always saying, oh my God, you know, what's the best antivirus? I need the best so that I can be protected. Well, you're protected like you, basically your protection is what you do with your computer. So basically, that means if you're not careful with what you do, if you click everywhere on the web and don't look at whatever you're clicking at, whatever antivirus you use is not going to help you, and you are at risk. So that question, the antivirus that you use, you are self-employed. I would probably, if you're a little unsure of sometimes what you do, buy an antivirus like Nod 32 to use on my computer, because it does have a little more protection. It does check a little more for bad things that might infect your machine. But that said, if you're not careful, it won't protect you. So that means that the free antivirus, for example, in Windows 8, Windows 10, we have the antivirus that is from Windows Defender, which is the one from the Windows itself. Basically, could be quite all right for what you do. So don't worry too much about it. Okay. How can you test your antivirus is the second question that you have, and that is, there's a little something you can test. If you're not sure it's doing what it should do, there's something called ACAR. So it's EICAR test. This will give you the website of eicar.org. And what it does is that it will send you to a website where you can download a test file called EICAR. It's basically it's not dangerous. It's just a series of characters, and they are here, by the way. In this series of characters, what they do, if you put this in a text file with Word or even the WordPad, your antivirus should pop up and say, hey, this is dangerous. So you also have the download versions that you can get. So when you are on this page and go down somewhere, there's the test files, and you can, let me just check, on the left side there's download. And if you click download, you'll have the download of a zip version, a text version. So for example, let's just download the one of them, and I'll save the target on my desktop. So here we go, desktop, correctly, save. And here you see my smart screen filter saying, hey, this unsafe to download and was blocked. So you can see that this is prevented by the smart screen filter of Windows. If it's not and downloads to your computer, you can actually right-click and scan it with your antivirus, or see if it reacts, your antivirus reacts to it. So eicar.org, you can download the anti-malware test file. Your antivirus should react to this. If it doesn't react at all, there's clearly something wrong with your antivirus. And finally, you say that on one of your computers at home, the antivirus that was there, which was Norton 360, is expired now for 30 days. Should I be worried about having viruses because it's not updated? Like I said, it all depends on what you do. If you're careful, no, there's no problem there. Sometimes clients call me and say, hey, my antivirus is expired, and I just can't, I'm scared that I might be infected And the thing is you rarely get infected if you're careful, because if you're careful, even if you didn't have an antivirus, you won't be infected. You know, that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. It ain't that easy to get infected. Everyone that was infected in my clients over the years had something they didn't do. They didn't update their Windows system, so they got a security flaw that was there and was, of course, exploited. They didn't upgrade some of the core, like the third-party software, like Flash Player or Java, and they got infected through that because there was a flaw because they didn't update the software. They clicked on something they shouldn't have. But if your system is up to date and you're extremely careful about where you go and what you do, you could go on the internet without an antivirus. You don't need an antivirus if you're careful with what you do, because you won't get infected. People have this impression that the antivirus is that magical software that blocks everything and you're not infected because of that. No, reality is 99% of why you're not infected is because you apply all the security updates to your system. That is the number one reason you're not infected. The number two reason you're not infected is you're careful with what you do. The antivirus has very little to do with that. And, if you're not careful, there are tons of viruses and malware that can pass through the antivirus filters and still infect your machine. So that's very, very important to be careful with. I want to check something here. It won't be long because I have the impression I'm missing on a slide that I wanted to use. Somebody asked me a question, and yeah. Okay, antivirus questions here. Yeah. Okay, here. I jumped over random questions. That's why I was wondering about a question here that a few questions I've got. Sorry, guys. I think I got some little allergies. And it's one of the first times I get allergies when the summer comes, and there's a lot of pollen in the air these days. So I've been actually sneezing a little more often. Okay. Some of the questions that are coming up now are, okay, one from Stephen Mail. Steve Mail in Aurora, Colorado says, can you explain and possibly demonstrate what a placeholder is? I have been hearing that some apps add placeholders in Windows 8.1, but not 10. I also wanted to thank you for putting in touch with Tim Robinson. That's my pleasure. Placeholders, very simple. Placeholders are simply places that are shown offline so that you can always know pretty much what you have when you're online. So an example, the big problem with the placeholders that you're talking about you're saying, well, there were apparently some placeholders in 8.1, not in 10. That comes with OneDrive. OneDrive basically is the online storage of Microsoft. What happened is that OneDrive, when you click on it, you see your folders, you see your files that you have on OneDrive. Placeholders means that if my computer is offline, not on the internet, I can still see miniatures of all my folders and all my files. So if I am not on the internet, I will see, if I click images, a thumbnail of all the pictures that I have. And I'll be able, even if I'm not on the internet, to know, oh, I have this picture already in OneDrive. Cool. So what happened is that Microsoft took out this feature in OneDrive. Meaning, if you're offline, there's no more synchronization of what you might have online visible in your computer. So a lot of people were using that because, for example, your laptop might not always be on the internet. You're somewhere, but you still need to know, do I have that document ready? You're able to go into documents and check it out because you'll see a miniature telling you, oh yeah, you've got a copy of that file. It's not the file itself. If you click on it when you're offline, you won't be able to use it. But it gives all the details of, yeah, I've got that version, and the date and the time of that version is there. So it's giving you at least the look or the idea that the files are there. And when you get online, then you'll be able to go and check it out for real. So placeholders disappeared, and it was a very popular thing. Now, apparently, placeholders would come back in OneDrive with the anniversary update in July, meaning there will be a sync, and that sync will have all the miniatures when you're offline of everything you had. So once again, that's a cool feature because, like I say, you don't have to be online to know if you've got a file or not in OneDrive. So a lot of online services use placeholders because they want you to know. So for example, you might have a Google software that shows you your pictures and Google Photos. And it's going to create placeholders so that you'll have miniatures of those pictures on your PC if you're offline. So you'll know, oh yeah, I've got my vacation pictures from last year in my Google Photos. Even if you're not connected, you'll be able to check that. You won't be able to check the pictures, but you'll know they are there. And when you get connected, you'll see them there. So that's pretty much what placeholders are. And the ones that you're talking specifically that disappeared are the ones for OneDrive. OneDrive's placeholders were gone, but they should be back in the anniversary update because it's a useful feature. The ability to know what's online even when you're offline is quite interesting because at least you can, just make sure that you have something or not on the OneDrive. Another question that comes from Samantha. Samantha says, hi, little question here. Can I trust OneDrive with my personal files? Here's the thing with that. You know what? I get tons of people and my clients also asking me, oh, I don't put my pictures on OneDrive. I'm afraid that, somebody might look at them at Microsoft. And the answer that I always give to that is, what does it matter? Unless you have extremely sensitive data about something, what does it matter? It doesn't necessarily matter. And you got to think about that. If you put your stuff online, just think about it. If somebody you don't know can see the files you have on your computer, what does it matter? Of course, there are a few things that can matter. If you have all your banking info on how to log on to your bank sites and your passwords and stuff in a text document, of course that matters because that means they can have access to that. But apart from that, there's really nothing interesting for anyone in general when you put your stuff on the cloud. It's not necessarily a problem. Now, OneDrive, I think, can be trusted. I don't think there's any problem with that. I don't think people in Microsoft go on OneDrive, view files. First of all, there are billions and billions of files. They just don't really care about it, about your stuff. But one thing that we know about OneDrive is it's probably not encrypted. So meaning what's online would be probably visible to people that want to see it. So if they would get hacked, well, yeah, maybe your documents and your files and your stuff would be, available for everybody. That might not be a cool thing, but I trust. I put all my stuff on OneDrive pretty much. I don't matter. I don't care. I don't wait, or I don't think about that being such a problem. But you're asking if there would be a problem, or if it's possible for somebody to view stuff. The second question that she's asking is there a secure online backup option? Yeah, there are several, but one that comes to mind is Kryptonite. Kryptonite. I have somebody that made a joke about Kryptonite, and I have got that in my head. It's Carbonite, not Kryptonite. So Carbonite is an online backup. Not iDrive, this is not the right site. Carbonite official site. So carbonite.com, and what they do, this is a paid online backup. What you do is you pay for your backup here. Install the Carbonite app. It's going to back up all of your computer to the cloud in Carbonite. That is impossible for them to see whatever you've uploaded. And because they are encrypting everything. So everything you have there is encrypted. And they actually tell you when you start your Carbonite, they actually tell you don't lose your passwords. Because if you lose your passwords, we will never be able to get your files back, because they're all encrypted in a big blob. And without your password, they just can't get them back. So that could be, maybe for enterprise, for example, that's a solution that actually makes sure that everything's encrypted, nobody can see nothing, and that you're backed up in the cloud. So if your computer gets stolen, if something happens, you know that you can actually still, have your backup, your files back if something happens. So I hope you enjoyed this little talk about OneDrive. I hope, Steve, that you've understood a little more what placeholders are. What else do we have here? Steve also mentioning that he's got downloaded Office 2013 as a trial version. First time it was supposed to be for 180 days. After 2 weeks, I kept getting promoted. That my trial was over in 3 days. Yeah, what I suspect is you're trying the 2013 with something called I think it's KMS or something like that, which is a hacking tool. What it does is it resets to 180 days the Office counter. I don't know if you're using that or not. If you are, be careful, because these are tools that are often used to hack and to send malware to your computers. And the reason it doesn't work is very simple, is that no Office product has 180 days of trial. The Office products, at most, you have a Office product like Office 365 that can be tried for 1 month, 30 days. And yes, you do need a credit card to do so. So basically, there's nothing much you can do. And the reason why your trial was only 3 days, because they've been updating Office a lot, and they know what tools some hackers can use to basically trick the Office product. So they might have seen that and just like reset it and said, well, okay, you don't want to play fair. We're gonna give you just 3 days, and that's it. So that's the thing. The trial of Office is only for a month at most. So they simply looked at it and said, look, okay. Yeah, because there's no, like I said, there's no 60 or 90 days, or because you're talking about, you uninstalled. If you're using the regular Office products, there's nothing more than 30 days in trial. It does not exist anything other. They might have existed in the past at some time. There might have been 60-day trials or something. There might have been another type of trial, or or you might have had a month where they said, "Hey, try it for a year," or there are things like that could have happened. But the thing is, right now, 30 days is the maximum. So, and if you reinstall, because you said, if you reinstall, they know that you installed it before, so it won't reset to 30 days anymore. It will only give you the number of days that was left, because in the registry there's an information that knows that you already did it in the past. And you say basically you use Excel and Word, each of 4 computers. Have these 2 programs from Office 2003. Do not use any other programs, but decided to install the full Office suite on 8.1. On my Windows 10 machines, I've downloaded Excel, Word Mobile. They're all read-only, but will be okay to read any current file. Now, Windows Online does work, but takes a little longer. Yeah, there's the online version of Windows. It says now Office 2003 works on both 8.1 and 10. The other day I got an important update on my 8.1 machine for Office 2010. I've never had Office 2010. Should I accept this update? If it's proposing it, it's because there's some module, there's something there that it still thinks that you have 2010. One of the things that might be the update of 2010 is the fact that if you've installed, for example, if you have the 2007 version, you've installed a update that gives it compatibility with later Word documents, because 2007 cannot read, for example, 2010 or 2013 documents, because they've changed the little file format. So it could be that you have that installed and it has some kind of 2010 engine. Basically, it's not complicated. Anything that comes from Windows Update is always, they checked your computer for what you had installed. It means there's something of 2010 that is there, and it wants to update it. The reason I would update it, yes, is because lots of the Office stuff is security updates. There's a lot of viruses that are going to go through Microsoft Office. So yeah, I would install it if it's in the recommended update. If it's in the optionals, you don't have to. You can just forget about it for sure. So you got Microsoft Works, Lotus suits both versions of OpenOffice. These OpenOffice, those OpenOffice do work well, but I still like Microsoft Office better. Well, going back to DOS days, you used Form Tool. I remember that a long time ago. So yeah, they want a credit card for the trial. So you've got 4 computers. I would, if you are a regular user of Word and Excel, one thing for sure is that older version of Office that you have good and does what you want. Keep that old version and just use that. If you require to have something more recent and you've got 4 computers, I would consider a Office 365 home version, which will have Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And it's $69 a year. It's not that expensive. Comes back to barely more than $5 a month. So you can check that out, and you can get out anytime. They're not Microsoft is really not fussy about, you subscribing or unsubscribing on stuff. You can pay for a year and immediately say, I don't want to have a renewal. I'll just, and it's going to work for a year because you've paid for a year. And when the expiry date comes, it's going to stop working. But with 4 computers, I think about it. But once again, does your 2003 or 2007 version do what you want? Then don't spend any money for a more recent version. We have Sylvia that is asking a few questions concerning online security because she's a little scared now. She's been reading all the acts, Twitter passwords stolen, and all the things that I've been mentioning in my news bulletins. So the first question, how can my online accounts be secure? Simple. Every account you have that has two-factor authentication, turn that on. Very important. Two-factor authentication will give you a code that you'll receive on your phone, and it will make it impossible, even if somebody finds your password, it's impossible for that person to get access to your account. Why? Because you'll have that secret code. You also say that you have difficulty remembering passwords. Any tricks that I can use for passwords? Well, you can use a thing like LastPass. LastPass will simplify the password. I actually want to make a video about that to explain a little bit how that works. That simplifies the usage of passwords. The other thing is that try to combine stuff. One of the tricks I've often told clients that were very, very fussy about getting difficult passwords was create passwords using words that exist, but changing with like a specific rule that you might have, changing, say, an O for a 0 and a S, which resembles the number 5. So, if you put sunshine and you decide that you want to have I is 1 and S is 5, and, anything that resembles a number, you change it with a specific number or a random number. As long as you remember your rule, then, sunshine becomes 5 UN 5 H1 NE. Sometimes I'll use that trick. The E will be a 3, even though it's inverted, looks like an E. So in your mind, it sounds, if you write it down, it looks like sunshine. Your brain converts it to sunshine, but it increases, the complexity of your password. You can say, okay, I'll use, take long words. Don't take 6-letter words. Take very long words. You can say, oh, the third letter that I encounter is always uppercase, for example. You might say, well, the first or the last character will be an unusual character, an asterisk or, anything weird. So like that, it becomes extremely complex. But with the rule that you remember all the time and knowing which word you're using, you will make a very complex password, but it will be simple for you to remember. But nothing beats two-factor authentication. That is your best friend in security, I can tell you that. Few questions about podcasts. Alexander, been using different podcast clients. Winamp, Zeopod, FeedStation, MediaMonkey, MediaGo. You know what? I don't use anymore any podcast clients, but one of the podcast clients I've used for a long time and still exists is the G Potter podcast client. G Potter. So just go to G gpotter.org. It's open source. It's available for Mac, for PC, for Linux, I believe. And it's simple in its look, but it's very complex on everything you can do with it. So check that out, and you can, of course, have it automatically have podcasts played by your favorite, your favorite media player. So like a VLC or whatever. You choose everything. So check it out, gpotter.org, and give me news of what you think. I used that for a long time. I did like it a lot. I did use it quite regularly. And here it says it's available for Linux, Windows, OS X, and Android. So it's supported on pretty much every device. So whatever device you have, you'll have the same podcast client. So hope that might be a solution for you, and let me know what you thought about it if you tried it. We also have one of the questions, and I lost the email because I've accidentally erased it and I was unable to retrieve it. One of the questions also that came in, and it was last week, is what is a podcast? A lot of people don't know what podcasts are. Podcasts are generally shows, online shows, audio or video that are regular. So a podcast, for example, this YouTube live show that it's every week, you could consider this a podcast. It's a broadcast over the internet. What's different is that podcasts will often be available with different clients. So for example, this live show, I could make a specific version of it audio, and I could put it on iTunes, for example, and have it available to anybody that has iTunes, or put it anywhere where with specific instructions that a podcast client, like I just showed gpotter, could take it and download it automatically to a computer. Another question that I've got very often is, how can I start a podcast? You know what? Starting your own podcast can be very, very, very easy. You simply need, the basic equipments of a microphone. If you want to do it video, camera. Most computers already have a camera. If you find it that it's not quality you want, you can buy yourself a better camera, like the one I have here, which is not the best, but it's better than the average webcam, basically. And then all you need to do is, put yourself somewhere. You can create your audio podcast. You can have it shared through iTunes or through different podcast websites. There are a few podcast websites. And, your own podcast about anything that you like and you fancy and you want to talk about. It's pretty cool. What else do we have? We have a question from Mark that asks, first of all, how do I choose a tablet? I've seen so many tablets. I don't know what to choose. What are your tips? Okay, choosing a tablet is something that is not that difficult, but it can be, because there's so many different tablets, and there's like the cheap tablets, the good tablets, there's a lot of stuff. Basically, choosing a tablet, first look around you. Do people have tablets around you? What do they use? You might go into the direction of, the same as what people around you are using. So say everybody's on an iPad, you kind of answered the question. Maybe it's better to buy an iPad because you'll have help from your friends if there's something wrong. Second, what type of person are you with a tablet? Do you want a tablet that can let you do pretty much anything you want? Or is it for a very simple usage of basic stuff, emails, a little bit of internet, reading books? That is another thing that you can check for. You might not need a very powerful tablet also. What's the price range that you have Can you, is it you got $200 and that's it, or you can go up to $1,000, or there are different tablets here. Size of the screen. Size of the screen. How big do you want your tablet? How are you prepared to learn the tablet? For example, you've got Android, you've got iPad, you've got Windows. A Windows tablet has the advantage of, if you're a Windows guy, of being the same as your Windows laptop, running the same software, working pretty much the same, and even letting you do work if you want by adding, for example, wireless keyboards, stuff like that. An iPad is probably the easiest of all the tablets to use because it was well designed for simplicity. And basically, the simplicity is what makes the iPad attractive. And you've got tons of apps in the iOS store that you can install for pretty much everything. The downside to an iPad, it's a closed system. You're in Apple's world and you're stuck with that. It's not like a Windows tablet where you could plug in a USB key or USB thumb drive or anything and just share documents. And an iPad is not like that. It's way different. And you can have an Android tablet. Android tablets are pretty much like Windows tablets in being rather open and pretty much what you want to do and do everything you want. The problem with Android, it's that it's probably a little complex to use. Android, even though it got much better, is still basically a little difficult to use for most people. And you got to use to the way it works and where to get the menus. I've had people asking me for courses on iPads. I've had many more people asking me for courses on Android because they just had a lot of difficulty understanding how to pretty much do everything. So it's up to you. Android tablets will tend to be a little less expensive than iPads, so you'll have Android tablets for $200 to $300 that are surprisingly good. Try to get a good brand. So if you buy an Android, make sure you get a brand like a Samsung Galaxy or something that's well known, a Nexus tablet or something like that. The other thing that you should check for is battery life. The winner of battery life is the iPad. The iPad is an amazing performer for battery life. The different tablets have different battery lives. So like I got a cheap Windows tablet, gives me about 3 hours. An iPad will give you 12 hours easily. An Android tablet, depending on the model, from 2 to 4 or 5 hours. So all of that, is important. Check out the screen. The best thing is go somewhere where they have all of them and try them out and look at the screen. And do you like the model? And is it too heavy or not? There's, some tablets are heavier than others. And the last question you have is, can I use a tablet to do everything I do on my laptop? If you have a Windows tablet, yes. If you have an iPad or an Android, it depends what you do on your laptop. Yes, to some extent, but it's not a laptop. The only real tablet that will be like a laptop if you want to is Windows. Android and iPads, yeah, you can work documents and stuff, but it's not necessarily the best way to do so. You've got programs and stuff. If you've got Windows software, it doesn't work on an iPad or an Android. These are different operating systems. You gotta remember that. And while we're in the tablet, there's a question that just came in from GT Service. Rich says, have you heard of any issues on the Microsoft Surface Pro 4, like the pen losing connection? There's been a lot of problems with the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Books. They are really working hard to making these better, and check for any firmware updates and any driver updates that you get on your Surface Pro, because there are some issues on the 4, unfortunately. All sorts of issues that popped up, and not everybody have the same issues either. It's better than it was at the beginning. Yeah, there are some issues. So make sure that you update it all the time, and it should normally become more stable. And if your pen has problems, check it out, because that's not a specific problem that I've seen though with the pen. It's something that you that you might have yourself, and not everybody. But there are some issues. That's for sure. There are some issues, Rich, with the Surface Pro 4. So make sure that you update when there's updates. They issue quite regularly updates lately. So that probably might fix all the problems you have. So thanks for being here. And I'll check out your channel. Our friend here, GT Service, says his YouTube name is Woodbeast. So I'm gonna check that out. See what you have online, my friend. And thanks for saying hi. Tim's mentioning that some video lockups, quite a few buffering moments. It seems to be very, very different from different areas and different people. Because when I was doing my live show last Saturday for the radio stuff, I had people mentioning that there was some buffering, but a lot of people were mentioning that they didn't have any issues with the video feed. So I don't know. It seems to be the way maybe that Hangouts are working or sending the signal. Might be interesting. If anybody else is having issues with the video, let us know. And we also have now a question that's from Frank. Frank is a regular viewer of my shows, my radio shows, and he says, I don't know if here's the place for these questions, but here's the thing. From all your experience with radio, I have the following questions. And yes, it is the place, because these are devices that are technology, and this is a technology show. It's not specific to computers or stuff. It's technology in general. So the question, you say that you've seen baby monitors, and you'd like to use one. Are they safe to use? Well, here's the thing. Baby monitors are open microphones in your home. So baby monitors that are wireless, you're most of the time opening your home to anybody that has a scanner radio or police scanner. And I hear a few here. When I scan the frequencies of the baby monitors, I hear maybe close to maybe 10 baby monitors of different frequencies. So that is always something that's kind of complex. You're mentioning also the internet baby monitors that you can actually view the video. That also has its issues. There's a lot of models that lately have been showing up with flaws, security flaws, meaning that from the web, not only you can see the video from the baby monitor. So be careful what model you use. There are models that are better than others. Make sure that it's a good model, that there's no security flaws around it. But if you do use a wireless one just for the audio, what you could do is turn it on when the baby's sleeping and you can't be there to monitor, and turn it off when you're when the baby's up. So like that, it's not a 24-hour microphone in your home, and these are amazingly sensitive. There are a few here that I hear. You could hear pretty much everything everywhere in the house, even if they're not in the room. It's so sensitive that you hear everything that's happening. It can get creepy sometimes. Second question that you have, any idea on good wireless headphones? Yeah, there are a few models out there. Sony makes a great pair that is a 2.4 gigahertz digital pair. I don't remember what model it is, but the Sony models, I think they have 2 or 3 of them, are amazing. They're really good. Take a good brand name and use the models that are, don't choose, like models that say 900 megahertz or something like that. Choose the 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz models. They are way better. Remember, they can be interfered with your router. That's one of the drawbacks. But choose a good brand of wireless headphones, Sony's or KOSS, KOSS makes good wireless headphones also. There are probably others, but that's something you check for. And finally, you say you've got a wireless or a cordless phone. Are they safe? Are there better models than others? Yeah, what you need to check when you buy a cordless phone is simply make sure that they are spread spectrum technology. Spread spectrum technology means it's actually taking your voice and breaking it into little bits here and there. And that's totally digital. So basically, nobody can understand what you're saying. And these are the safest. Most models today are. If you see the models that say DECT 6.0, that's also digital models. Just stay away from the very cheap ones that say, hey, this is 900 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz, because the very cheap ones are sometimes analog, or sometimes half. Half of it's digital and half of it's analog. I still hear 900 megahertz cordless phones from time to time, and also still hear 2.4 gigahertz. That surprised me a lot. I thought 2.4 gigahertz cordless phones should have been digital, but they are not. And I've been able to receive 2.4 because with the equipment I got here, I've been able to receive 2.4 gigahertz cordless phones that were analog. Now, the thing is, when they're at 2.4 gigahertz, at least you have one advantage compared to 900 megahertz. Most radio scanners or police scanners don't go up to 2.4 gigahertz. So you have part of the privacy from the fact that you are very high in frequency. But there are some equipment. I've got a portable scanner that goes up to 3 gigahertz, so I can hear that. So make sure they're just using spread spectrum technology, and make sure, or make sure on the box it says DECT 6.0, and these will be pretty safe, basically. So you're watching the live tech show, and we're from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Let's see here. We'll go into questions received today. So Viper the Bookman, hello my friend, says that his CPUs reaches 100%, stay in there sometimes before it goes down again. Is it supposed to do that, and will it mess up my PC? Only thing I got up is Facebook on Google, and 2 other websites that I use to host and online league. I do, plus the room I host, in which all 3 is in Internet Explorer. Yeah, it could be totally normal that your CPU moves up. Let's just check mine for a second. I'm using let's go to the task manager here. I'm actually using Boink right now, which is the piece of software that checks for artificial intelligence. So you see here, if I look at the CPU, so you got spikes. Right now, it's at 10% of utilization, which is not a lot, but it can go up. And it's easy for your CPU to go up pretty high in its frequency, basically. And basically, depending on what you do, and you say you've got multiple pages of browser open, I'm not surprised that your CPU rate goes constantly at 100%. You know, if you go on different websites and stuff, say here I've got Edge open. Let's go on YouTube, and say I'm going to open a second page here with say we're going to go to computerworld.com. So these are web pages, but they have one thing in common, is that they have scripts and a lot of stuff that actually work on the website itself. So here you see a moving image in the YouTube ad on the top. Here is Computer World, which is a site that has so many different technologies used in the pages. If you look at the my CPU here, look at how it suddenly increased, and it has a lot of peaks going around, you know, 70, 80, almost 100%. So it's totally normal. There's nothing there. The only thing is you don't want it to be there at 100% all the time, but to have peaks at 100% is okay. Typically, if it's always 100%, you'll hear the fans in your computer that's going to start spinning a lot more. So don't worry about it. It's not going to break your computer. You know, it's made for that. It's made to be used. So basically, don't worry too much about that, for sure. Also, you have if you want to know if Windows 10 will go up in version number, or is it still 11.15, meaning November, the year 15, after they've done the big update, if it went up, what version is it now? As well as when I upgrade, will I be updated to the latest version, which is November 2015? Here's the thing. If you upgrade to Windows 10, yes, you're getting the November update, which is version 15.11. 15.11 meaning 15 for the year, 2015, 11 for the month of November. The next update, which will be anniversary update in July, will be 16.07. 2016 for the year, 07 for the month of July. It's gonna stay at that type of numbering. Some people been telling me, oh, it's gonna go to Windows 10.1 in anniversary update. No, it's not. From every sources that I see, it's gonna stay Windows 10, and it's just gonna upgrade its version. So you know, if I go here and type WinVer for Windows version, here you've got the information on that window, version 15.11, and it's build 10.586.318. Actually, let me check it out, because today we have updates. I've updated this machine, by the way, so check out your Windows updates after the show is over. Today is Patch Tuesday for Windows. Lots of security updates. I'll be posting a video, by the way, a little later on about today's updates. Now, if you look at WinVer today, just by curiosity, my laptop is now at version 10.586.420. So that means after I update this machine with the Windows updates today, it's going to be at version 420. So you'll have version 15.11, OS build 10.586.420. Also in version anniversary update, the build here 10.586 that we see here, that's going to be changed. In anniversary update, we'll have a different build, because it's going to be a new build of Windows, basically. So and when you upgrade, you know, if you upgrade for free before July 29th, you'll have the latest version installed. And if you would buy a license for Windows 10 after July 29th, you'll have the latest version, including the anniversary update, automatically, which will be the latest version they have. Third question you got, when the speed of CPU goes to 3.84 gigahertz, is that overclocking? And sometimes, even occasion, it goes to 3.88, but not often, mainly goes to 3.84. Max speed on my CPU is 3.8 gigahertz. On the same subject, CPU is both 3.84 and 3.88 is danger zone, or should I be worried? No, actually, your CPU is probably set automatically for its normal speed. So your max speed of 3.8, you're in that zone. You're 3.88 or 3.84, so it's not overclocking. It's just the regular speed that it can go to, and there's no problem there. And today's computers have also something different. If I go back to my task manager here, when I was looking at the CPU in performance, there's the numbers of the CPU speed. One of the things that you need to know here, for example, it says maximum speed of 2.6 gigahertz, but it can go higher than that if it uses a single core sometimes. Same on my laptop. It's a feature called speed boost or something like that. What it does is that it can use a single core but boost it at a very higher speed than the technically designed speed of the CPU itself. So that's another feature that's new in Windows 10 and in the Intel CPUs of today. And your final answer, if you can answer today, you tell me whereabouts Windows 8.1 files be once upgraded to Windows 10 home next month by the 11th, or what would it say? Should I use the advanced disk cleanup to try to gain the most space it can after I upgrade to Windows 10 home, or after 30 days is up? Here's the thing. If you ask it to keep your files and everything, in general, your files will be the same place they were. So for example, if in Windows 8, they were in documents and you had pictures and images and you had music and you had videos, once you upgrade by keeping the files in File Explorer, you'll see all these files are exactly the same place. They won't have changed. Sometimes on some upgrades, depending on what's happening, it can do a folder called windows.old, and that depends on how it's upgraded. So if everything is not there, it's probably in windows.hold that is in the root of your hard drive. So if you go to the C drive, you'll see a folder called windows.old. And in there, you'll have everything that you had in your old operating system. Don't clean up the files immediately if you want to remove some of the older files and stuff when you upgrade, because just in case you might want to go back. By keeping all the files there, you have the possibility to reset or restore your PC back to Windows 8.1 if for some reason you just want to go back or there's something not quite right. But of course, you'll be able to clean everything, from your old install after you've upgraded. A little comment here from Tim Robinson saying he's got a pair of wireless headphones. They are Sony. Range away from transmitter is excellent, but he finds it very annoying that Sony incorporates sound clipping at medium to high volumes and no way to turn it off. Yeah, you know what? There's a bunch of new laws that are basically making things a little harder. I've noticed it on my Samsung Galaxy, for example. Getting very high volume is now very difficult because there are laws that now restrict volume levels and all sorts of these little details. Basically, one of the things also is that there are a lot of these devices use compression to achieve what they want in giving you the sound through a wireless frequency. That introduces all sorts of effects, like, sound clipping, and there's sometimes it might temporarily be like kind of muffled down or missing in some of the frequencies in the audio. It's not. It depends sometimes on the compression used and on the chip used to recreate the audio from that wireless signal also. Unfortunately, sometimes some models are better than others in creating this, for sure. We have GT Servicing. Thanks for the answer. I speak from experience. I love my Surface 3. It is flawless. Bought a Surface Pro 4, and from day one had issues with the pen disconnecting and the other problems. Yes, all of the updates were done by Microsoft Store Tech. I have an account I pay for, and they would log in. After 40 days, I said I want my money back, and they said no, I am beyond the 30-day warranty. I said they should not count since you have trying to fix the entire 30 days. Yeah, that's the sad thing. Everybody that bought a Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book, it's been a pain in the butt since the start, and that has been a major issue at Microsoft. And you know what? They should have honored. I would be mad as hell if I bought a $2,500 Surface Book to experience blue screens, freezes, all sorts of weird problems. You're not expecting that from a $2,500 Surface Book. You're not expecting that from a Surface Pro 4 either. It is a expensive tablet, and it's sad that it has these problems. And it's sad that Microsoft is, I don't know, they kind of messed up with the Surface Pro 4, and it's really sad. I would try that, because sometimes, you know what, it does work. If you have all the details of everything that happened in the Surface, the different services you had with the text Microsoft and everything, go on Google and find yourself the email address of a few of the high-ranking people at Microsoft, like Satya Nadella and so on, the head honcho at Surface devices and so on. Write a few emails. You know what? It's very surprising. People don't think about that, but if you write it well and you say, look, I've got tons of problems with, start your email with problems with Surface Pro 4 or something. Tell them how many times you had to talk to somebody, and I've heard tons of stories of Microsoft, also Apple, works for Apple products also, by the way. If you write to Apple, like Tim Cook at Apple and some stuff like that, if you write it well and somebody's kind of seen your little distress here, sometimes you have a surprising email about, oh, well, okay, here's this, go head on to, the nearest Microsoft store, or head on to this or that place, and we'll do a deal, or we'll do something with you, or it's very surprising. He said, I fought with them for 3.5 months and finally found a way to do that. They even sent me another Surface Pro 4, and even that did the same thing. They said there's no way to fix it right now. I had bought it for my wife, who has poor eyesight and depends on the pen as a pointer. It was crazy. After 3 months, I disputed the credit card charge, and Microsoft finally heard my story and credited my account. Well, at least you have, it's sad, because when you pay such a high amount for devices, you shouldn't have to fight so hard to get your money back. They have problems with these devices. The Surface Pro 1, 2, and 3 were amazing. They all work really well. Problems with 4, and some of them are driver issues, some of them are firmware issues, and they seem to have a lot of difficulty in getting it right. So next time, that's kind of a lesson sometimes when a new device gets on the market, to wait and see what people think and what's happening with it. Is it working well before jumping on, okay, I'm buying one? It's always a little difficult, you know, when you buy something new that nobody's ever tested before. It happens very often in technology that there's some issues. Man, it's a sad story, you know, but at least you got your money back. But man, you know, I hate it when it's so complicated, for sure. So, another question here. I'm extending a little bit the show because since there's no Learn to Tech tonight, I can have a little more time to dedicate. If anybody has another question that want to send me right now, I'll try to answer it live at helpwithyourcomputers@gmail.com. Simply send the question. I'll try to answer it right now. Tim Robinson saying, glad to see you're looking well. Is there any info floating around as to how soon after the anniversary update there will be the ISO or image files available for download? Thank you, my friend. Keep up the great work. They apparently should be available, from what I've heard, they should be available the day that the anniversary update is released. So as soon as it's released, you'll have the image files available. So anybody that wants to do a clean install with the anniversary update will be able to do so. So apparently it should be on the same day. It should be released the same day for the image files, which is pretty cool. And he says, has a little comment here for Viper the Bookman, saying, Viper the Bookman talking about CPU core speeds, says mine has a base speed of 4 gigahertz with a boost clock of 4.2. Mine is running constantly at 4.2 regardless of load, and I could set it quite higher, but there is no real need. I doubt such speeds you reported on your CPU would be considered dangerously high. Modern CPU architecture can take it. Yeah, in general, you know, as long as the heat management is okay, you know, as long as your CPU is cooled correctly, it could run 100% all the time, and it wouldn't be a problem. Here I have the search for extraterrestrial intelligence software installed, and when it's running, the CPU of my desktop on this TV here is maxed out at 100% all the time. And you know what? I checked it out. The computer is really well cooled, so even at 100% all the time, it doesn't really overheat. So you know, there's no problem with that, for sure. Doc Kimball, Chrome seems to use an awful lot of memory. On occasion, Windows 7 will notify me that my computer is low on memory. When I open Task Manager, it shows 5 entries of Chrome.exe with a total memory use of around 380,000 K. Any ideas? This is happening now as I watch live shows. Yeah, well, you know, make sure you have the latest version of Chrome, because there was a problem with what's called memory leak on Chrome. And basically, it was fixed in a subsequent version. You should be in Chrome at version 51.0.2704.84. This is where we are now, version 51. If you haven't updated Chrome in a while, update it. Go to the Chrome website and get the latest version. If you have a 64-bit Windows 7, get the 64-bit version of Chrome for Windows 7. If you go to Google Chrome page at google.com/Chrome, make sure that you download the latest version. So you can click the download now button. If you have a 32-bit version right now, go into download at the top of the screen, go into personal computers, And here, make sure that you download Chrome for 64-bit version. If it's not stated 64-bit, click download Chrome for another platform, and here you'll be able to download 64 bits if you've got 32 bits of Chrome. So make sure that you have the latest version, because there are a few versions in like 47, 48, 49 that were notorious for having what's called memory leaks. So basically, it would just bloat out and use a tremendous amount of RAM memory. So make sure you have the latest version, Doc Kimball, and hope that helps for sure. Cerebrasana says, hi, Gilles. Any idea how to make Windows Explorer remember column width? I have to stretch columns every time I open sections like my computer. It's really annoying, and it doesn't happen everywhere, which makes it even more confusing and frustrating. Cerebra from Paris. Nice to have a viewer from France. You know what? Usually, the File Explorer remembers your settings from your last usage. So basically, if you are doing stuff and using File Explorer, it should remember the settings that you used in the column width, depending on how what view that you've chosen. So if your view is like, you know, with maybe the best that I could do would be at I think it was at downloads here. Downloads, you see the column widths are here. Basically, if you use one and you decide to modify the column width, every time you go back in here at the same place, it should stay the same. So what you're experiencing is that some of the places you've modified them correctly and it stayed, and you go to other folders, new folders are created, for example. Well, these don't have that setting, that setup, because it's a new folder. It doesn't know how to actually set up the columns, so it kind of sets them up by default. But you know what? I'm gonna play with that a little more, because that is something that, you know, you just actually ask a question also that I've myself was looking at today, is that I downloaded some music, and I've noticed that where the music was downloaded, I always had to play with the column width to go see stuff. So I'll post a video. I'm going to keep that as a question for the video also, and ask, and I'll explain a little more on I'll explain a little more on how to set up the File Explorer to your liking. Thanks for your question, and look on my channel for a video. I'll keep your email and send you the link when the video is posted, probably in the next day or two. And thanks for your question. GT Service says, suspect bad hardware manufacturing. That's what I think, man. Thanks for your time. Yeah. I know that for the Surface Book, it seems to be a lot in the firmware and the drivers, because they've managed to fix like 90% of the problems, but there's still lingering stuff. Really, really weird. Question from Viper the Bookman. How long should I wait to create an ISO on DVD and flash drive, or even clean install for both? You said just a few minutes ago, if not too late. Should I just wait until the anniversary update or July, or will you be making a video? Well, I'll of course, when the anniversary update arrives and there's a new image file, I will let everybody know in a video that an image file is now available for the latest version of Windows. Usually, you know, the way I work with image files is very simple. I take a USB thumb drive, and I have the latest ISO, the latest image file on that drive. And when a new version comes along and they recreate the image files, what I'll do is erase the thumb drive and rewrite it with the new image file. So like that, I always have the latest version available. If it's a DVD, DVDs don't cost anything anymore. Create one with the latest version, and when a new version will be available, like the anniversary update, just recreate your DVD, write on it that it's the latest version with anniversary update, and now you've got your new image files regularly as they update. Because with the updates, the image files will, of course, be updated regularly. So now the next image file update will be with the anniversary update in July. Spybot Beacon, what do you think of this for Windows 10? Spybot Beacon, just gonna check out here. Spybot Beacon. Yeah, Spybot anti-beacon for Windows. Standalone tool which was designed to block and stop the various tracking of Windows 10. Yeah, okay. If you're really worried about what Windows 10 is sending out, it could be. But you know what? I wouldn't use a third-party utility. In the settings, you've got everything in privacy. So you go to all settings, and just go into what is it? Just searching for privacy here. Devices personalization, privacy here at the bottom. So you've got the privacy. You know what? Simply turn off the things that you don't want. Especially the main page, the general page, the privacy option. Let's use my advertising ID system. I would not use a third-party software for that. I would simply go and shut it off from here, which is more than enough, basically. Also, make sure that, if you don't want too much information in the feedback and diagnostics, mine is set as full. Put it to basic. Sends very little data. Switch your account to a local account instead of a Microsoft account. If you do that, you've blocked so much that there's no problem anymore. I don't know. I would not use that. I don't think using a software is a good idea. And people are really going crazy over privacy in Windows 10, and it's way out of proportion. If you look at what Siri does on an iPhone or Google Play on a Android phone, if you look at Mac OS 10, what it's asking you, especially with the new version of Mac OS Sierra coming later this year, with Siri integrated, they're going to have the exact same issue as Windows 10, meaning that they're going to rewrite the license agreement and say, well, we're going to send data to Apple. I'm not scared. Always remember that the data sent to Microsoft is anonymous, so meaning that every little detail they've received from your computer with Windows 10 is not linked to your computer. They don't know it's you. Everything is, just for use of the different services. Cortana, of course, Cortana wants to be able to see your email. It's not to send them to Microsoft. It's to be able to say, hey, you've got an email about an appointment at this time, and I see in your calendar you got something else. I can tell you that there's a conflict. It's for usability. It's not for spying. That said, Windows 10 is the Windows version that sends the most data ever, and that is true. And it's all in the the telemetry sent out is mostly to try to make it the best operating system as we go on. They can see things, they can view the errors, they can view a lot of stuff that they need to tweak and fix. So it all depends on you. I'm not a paranoid person concerning that. So my PCs with Windows 10 have nothing changed in the settings because I don't care. I also don't care in the fact that who cares? What the hell does Microsoft, what the hell can Microsoft do with my personal info? You already have personal info sent out, with your Microsoft account and stuff. So, it's up to you. If you want to use it, Spybot software, there's a lot of Spybot stuff. Spybot, I used Spybot search and destroy and stuff like that for malware many years ago. They technically make, good software. They made that software, the beacon software, to make it maybe easier to tweak what you want to stop as telemetry and stuff. But personally, I'm not scared of that. So basically, Viper the Bookman saying I should wait till the end or when the new ISO image to get ready before I attempt to use a flash drive to get a new ISO file. Not necessarily. It doesn't matter, especially for the flash drive. And also for the fact that if you upgrade for free, you might have to upgrade with the existing image files, because we're probably going to get an anniversary update, in the few days before the free upgrade ends. But Microsoft left the door open, saying it might be the week after anniversary update. So it means it might be when Windows 10 free upgrade the offer will be gone. So upgrade when you have to upgrade. Create on a USB thumb drive. It doesn't matter because it takes a few minutes and you've created your USB thumb drive, and you just simply redo it when it's time. So it's not, even if you do it now, doesn't matter much. Tim Robinson, hey Jill, purely out of interest, what technology do your family members enjoy, and are you always having to give them the tech guy treatment? My family sometimes drives me nuts asking me why is it doing this or that, and I have to have a giggle at their explanations of what they are trying to explain to me. You know what? Being a tech guy, of course, the family members are asking away. I've got problems with this, got problems with that. My family members are very basic in their usage of technology. They have computers. For a long time, they didn't have any. The first computers my brother, sisters had were computers because, as a tech guy, I bring home broken computers that people don't want anymore, and I see what I can recycle. So, of course, with time, I have computers. Like 2 weeks last week. Last week, I got a computer given to me by a client because the computer just, she bought a new computer and she didn't care about the old one. So I brought it home, and it's now my official Linux machine. I've installed OpenSUSE Linux on it, and I've dedicated the machine to Linux now. And for a long time, I was the one that had old machines that would still work well, and they'd use old machines. Now they all have, of course, kind of brand new machines, except maybe my brother-in-law. But they are not very advanced, and yes, there is that question. So I'll go somewhere. It's like, oh, I've got this or got that. If you want to have a funny example, is my sister-in-law on my brother's side that upgraded to Windows 10, and when she upgraded to Windows 10, she downgraded back to Windows 8.1 that she had. And when I went there one evening, she said, I don't like Windows 10. I said, oh, what do you don't like about Windows 10? Well, when you go on the internet, it wasn't the same. Okay. And I didn't have my favorites. So I got back to Windows 8.1. And you look at that and it's like, okay, it's just because you had Microsoft Edge. And you know, they don't notice. They're like, oh, that blue E is internet. Now, yeah, Edge is a blue E also. But the thing is, it's a blue E. It's Microsoft Edge. It's another browser. And your favorites were still there. And the way the internet works for you was still the same. You just had to go and get Internet Explorer back from the programs. And but that said, and this is how I just don't listen much to what people say, because she posted on Facebook, oh, I don't, Windows 10 is not good. It's not good. I don't like it. And everybody in her friends was like, oh, really? So I won't upgrade since it's no good. And they're all, you know, giving out that false information based upon the fact that somebody that doesn't know much says it's no good, but because she didn't understand that she was just not in the same browser. It wasn't a Windows 10 issue. It was the internet issue of something's different. So, you know, and of course I do get all the time the, hey, there's a, are you coming over for dinner next week? Yeah, sure. And then you're at the dinner. It's like, oh, you know what? I've got a little pop-up on the upper right corner of my screen, and it says this or that. And do you think you can have a look at it? It's like, you know, you're invited, but you're practically going to be there for a few hours just going through whatever they're doing, or, you know, removing that malware or that adware junk that they've got because they clicked on something. So it's part of, yeah, you know, when you start being seen as the guy that knows everything on computers, and you don't have to be a tech guy for that. You know, I'm sure you are just by the comments and the things that you're mentioning or what you do. You know, I already see that for your family, you're probably the tech guy. You're the one that knows everything about computers. And when they need help, of course, they're going to ask you. And yes, there are some funny things sometimes about, you know, this or that and why this is like that. And it's part of the experience. And we have to smile and just like say, hey, okay, it's like that. So, hey guys, I'm gonna say bye. Thanks for being here. It was really cool. And take care, everyone. We'll see each other next week. So the next live show will be next Tuesday, as we're always here on Tuesdays. What we are, we're June 14th. So here's the deal. We have 2 more Tuesdays left before I take a little summer break. Now, I was thinking of taking a summer break that was a little long, but I've started realizing, not just here, but also on my other channels where I do live shows, a lot of people are saying, well, you're going to take, you know, how long are you going to take a break? And we're going to miss you. So basically what I thought I would do is I will be, the last live show on Tuesday will be Tuesday, June 28th. And after that, we're going to go and come back with live shows on Tuesday, August 9th. So you guys will be only about a month and, you know, 5 weeks. Let's check it out. Okay, you guys will be, let's just check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 weeks without live shows. So instead, I was thinking at first to come back only in September, but you know, I think we're going to come back August the 9th. I think it's going to be nice. So you guys won't miss too much. And of course, I'll be continuing on the the videos every day, the tech news and stuff. It's just the live shows that are taking a break. So don't worry about it's not. I'm not stopping the videos for a month. I'm just taking a break from live shows because they are very demanding. People don't realize how demanding it is to create a live show, to create this, to create Learn the Tech. And I do have 4 live shows every week. So technically, I've got the Windows questions and answer like this, the technology or the live tech show. I've got Learn the Tech, which is very demanding because you have to research a lot of the subjects. Then I've got Friday show of radio. Sometimes it's tuning the shortwave band. Sometimes it's a show about police scanner and VHF, UHF frequencies. And on Saturdays, I also have one on shortwave dedicated to all sorts of things on shortwave radio and so on, and also on amateur radio stuff. So 4 shows is very demanding, plus the tech guy job, plus the videos that I post all the time. So I think it's going to be nice to have a little break for 4 or 5 weeks. And so there's 2 more Tuesdays left. Before we go, yeah, Mickey, look at the beginning of the show. You'll see you were one of the first questions that I've answered about your problem. So once the show is on, just check it out, and you'll see that it's one of the first questions I answered. So take care, everyone. See you next week on the live show. If you have any questions during the week, don't hesitate to send your questions to helpwithyourcomputers@gmail.com. Basically, a lot of people just send the questions during the week. They watch a recorded show. So next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC, we'll be back with other questions. And next week, we'll have a Learn the Tech show. We're going to talk about computer peripherals. Past and present and future, different things that plug to your computer and that do all sorts of interesting stuff. So take care all. Thanks for being here. See you next week. Bye-bye.